All right, boom, we're back. Squeezing Egg Podcast, and today we are Kent, I believe we're in.
We're in Kent.
Yep, and I'm with my new mate, Andy Smith. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks for having me
Andy
on.
Smith, for anyone who doesn't know, is Biohacker. And I'll let you explain anything else from there, mate, because you've got a cool setup with the bed, which is how we linked up. I was on my friend's one, and we got speaking on Instagram. But, mate, tell us more in your own words what you are, because I said Biohacker in your own words.
Yeah, so introduce myself, I'm Andy. I'm CEO of a company called Newmed Ltd. And what Newmed does is it distributes PEMF therapy devices into the UK market, which I kind of explain to you a bit more about that later, because not many people in the UK know what PEMF therapy is. Mm-hmm. On the journey, we've created our own device called Celerate. So we not only sell into the UK now, we're selling on a global scale the Celerate brand. So that's like our own manufactured device that we're now selling all over the world. Oof. So
you're going to be like having meals with Jeff Bezos and all them mushes soon.
Ideally.
Yeah. And today you're giving me like 10% of the shares, or no? That's for next week.
We'll see.
But no, as I say, mate. So I got in touch with you recently because I was on my friend's. Is it a PEMF bed? Would you call it?
Yeah. So you was actually on one of our Biohacker packages,
right. Okay.
which we've called a Biohacker package, and that is PEMF therapy and red light therapy.
Okay.
So more people know and understand red light therapy, so we'll talk about that. But
okay.
Yeah. PEMF is where we specialise, and that's kind of what projected me onto this journey.
I got you. And I've heard it described as PEMF. Is that real, or is that like a dumb version?
Yeah.
No, you can say
and
that.
to be honest, that's kind of like trending a lot more now.
Okay. So you can say PEMF.
Yeah, because I've always said PEMF.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mouthful. A lot of people can't say PEMF, and it's so.
I've said PEMF to people, and they've looked at me like I'm sideways. So
yeah,
PEMF would help me.
PEMF is easier.
But so the biohacking package, you said it is, or
yeah.
So if you put the two together, do they complement each other? We'll get into why and whatnot in a sec. But
yes,
they
exactly
work
that.
Together.
So the Celerate brand that we do, we've stacked the two together. So you've got PEMF therapy or PEMF therapy and red light therapy, and the two complement each other really well. So that's why we've kind of put the two together. Yeah,
I got you. And obviously, like, this is predominantly a fight podcast, but I've had other people around it that help with the body in all kinds of ways. And I think this one is one that people will find really interesting because, we spoke a little bit briefly. I saw your punch bag. You've done a bit of boxing yourself and all that business. Now, you know from being around fighters that everyone's trying to get the extra little like magic sauce. Now, when I say magic sauce, they're looking for a cheat code, really, right? Like everyone's got their own special masseuse. They've got this osteopath that's the best in the world, and they've got this guy who rubs their foot a certain way and it works. Blah 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 blah. With this kind of stuff, I think this is really the sort of thing that's going to perk people's ears up, right, and make people go like, "Fuck me, we're on a winner here." So. Take us back a little bit, mate. Like, where did you start in your journey in this? Because you said to me you're 37. Sorry if I'm exposing you. You look like you're about 22. You look like you're about 22. So, like, I'm intrigued with the whole, like, it's obviously working in somewhat. So, take us back to the beginning how you got into what you do, mate.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was kind of taking you all the way back. My family own a medical business, so we do medical manufacturing. That's been around for about 40 years now. My dad started that business. When I left university, I joined the medical business and I was working for them, and I was on a trip to Australia, visiting some customers out there. I developed a pain in my stomach, and it was actually just the day before we were flying home. So I was like, okay, what's going on here? We got to the airport and it was like excruciating. It was the weirdest pain I've ever and it was fine unless you start poking, prodding, and then it was like intense. We saw someone at the airport, and they said, get on the plane, get back to the UK and get it sorted. So we were flying from Australia, so it wasn't just a trip to Ibiza or anything. This is a 24-hour flight. So we jumped on that. We stopped off at Dubai. By the time we got to Dubai, it was like the worst pain I've ever felt. So they actually sent an ambulance to the plane to pick me up. It was that bad. I was dripping in sweat, all sorts. Took me into the medical centre there. Couldn't work out what it was. Stuck me with some morphine and put me on the flight back to the UK. So it was all a bit of a weird experience, to be honest. Morphine was great. When we got to the UK, it started to wear off. We went straight to A&E, and it was Friday, 5 p.m. in A&E. So as you can imagine, there was all sorts of stuff going on already. Did the same thing, had a little poke prod, didn't know what it was, and this is the NHS's mentality. They said, here's some super strong painkillers, we'll see you Monday morning when the doctors are here. So, sent me home, and a lot of my journey has been about this kind of mentality of health and giving people tablets and that, it's taken me down this more complementary and holistic route. So I was taking these super strong opioids, everything they'd given me. We all know what that happens, but fortunately for me, I didn't go down that route. Comes to Monday morning, get into the hospital, booked in to see the doctor. They're having a little scan, still can't see anything. And I actually fainted because I was in so much pain when they were scanning me. So there was something seriously going on. They then decided, something's not right here, so we will take them down to theatre. So I went down to theatre, came back up, and I remember waking up and I said to them, what was it? And they said it was an infection. It was a massive, massive infection, size of a sort of tennis ball under my skin or in my stomach. So they drained it all out, and they said you were not very long away from sepsis because of the fact that we'd sent you home, and they didn't realise it was this infection that was going on that was causing the pain. So although it kind of all got fixed, it could have been a hell of a lot worse. What came after that though was just a catalogue of drugs and antibiotics, because the infection kept coming back. So it was constant infection coming back and back and back. More antibiotics. So throughout my medical journey in the industry that we've been in, we've been going to exhibitions. We met this company that did this thing called PEMF therapy, which we knew back then as PEMF therapy. They were asking us, we're in the UK, do you want to sell this product in the UK? And we were like, we're too busy selling our own products. But 6 months into this journey of being super ill, and I mentioned to you before that I'd done a bit of boxing, and that was actually before all of this. So I'd done a ultra white collar boxing match, and back then I was super fit, and there's pictures of me with this ridiculous six pack and all sorts. And I wasn't used to being ill. Like this was all new to me, like super ill, bed bound a lot of the time. So my dad said to me, why don't you get one of their mats? So we ordered one from Germany. It took a little while to come in. It was really expensive. Coming in through customs was difficult because people didn't know what it was. They're sort of asking me, is this a medical product? What is it? So we had to pay customs fees. Finally got it in, started using this PEMF therapy, and to tell the audience what this actually is. So it's a device that you plug in. It's a mat that you lay on, so it treats the full body. It creates a magnetic field around the body, and what that does is a number of different things within the body. So what you can see on a microscope is the blood cells in chronically ill people, or what I found out, someone that sits in front of the laptop for 8 hours a day, your blood starts to get sticky, and it all clumps up, and that can lead to all sorts of different things. And mainly it's a normal thing, but it doesn't allow a lot of oxygen to be carried around the body. One way you can negate that and to change that blood is just to go for an hour run or something. So there's other ways to obviously have that effect. Putting yourself on a PEMF therapy mat, the magnetic field goes through the body, changes the electrical charge on the cells, and that helps to separate them. So when you've got them magnets at school and you push them together and they repel each other, twist them over the other way, they stick together, and that's what's happening with the charge when the cells are unhealthy. When you put a charge into the body for the magnetic field, helps us separate those cells. That then carries around the body, more oxygen, and also a huge increase in ATP production, which is what we'll talk about, and that's kind of the other side of things when we're talking about the extra 1%. So I got into this through my whole kind of my own health experience. I was using that therapy mat for a week, and the difference it had on me, mental health, the scar was healing, the infection was going, everything was changing. So for me, I was like, this is incredible. This is what I needed. And at the time, I could show you all these tablets I was taking, just these painkillers, things for antibiotics, all these sorts of things. And within the end of that week, I wasn't taking any of them. So
a week.
Within a week,
yeah. Quick, yeah, okay. Wow.
So, and that wasn't the doctor's advice. The doctor's advice was this is going to go on for quite a long time. What I wanted to do was get off them as quickly as I could. So using the mat, managed to get off those. I went in to see my consultant about a week after that, and he could see my demeanour, everything had changed. I kind of walked in, skipping in, sat down, I'm better, everything's healing, I'm feeling better. He said to me, what have you done? And I explained to him, it's PEMF therapy, it's pulsed electromagnets, and as soon as I did that, eyes went back in the head, and he said, all right, thanks, cool, yeah, whatever. I'll speak to you later. See you again in 6 months when your next follow-up.
Fucking hell, man.
And you're just like, why?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
What is that, do you think? Do you think it's because they don't understand and they're sort of scared of it and they just say, whatever?
I think there's a number of different reasons. The NHS, they don't understand it, they don't get it. We've done a load of different things. We offered a trial and we said to them, we'll give you 20 mats, put them into your kind of outpatients. You tell your patients how long you think they're going to be in there for, 10 days, 20 days, and we'll half that. We'll put this study together. If we can prove that it works, will you get these mats all over the NHS? We don't really have time for this, and it's not proven therapy, it's not that, and it just never went anywhere. And it didn't even give you the opportunity to give it a try. Tablet forms are just so easy and so simple. Like, these tablets are for this, these tablets are for this, these tablets are that. Buy them all in, put them on the shelf. These, it makes sense because it's easy. There's a lot of money to be made in tablets.
What? You're talking crazy, bro. You sure?
I get with Big Pharma, there's a lot of research that goes into it, and the cost of making them tablets is pennies. They sell them for millions and millions, So I get that side of it, but there's, the richest people in the world are probably, the ones at the top of Big Pharma. I hate talking about the whole, what's the Ozempic at the moment, touchy subjects.
Yeah, man.
But, there's easier ways than dishing out Ozempic to everybody. Yeah. Dare I say it.
Get off your arse and do something. You mean that one? Yeah, okay.
There are some people that can't do that. There is genuine reasons for people to have Ozempic and that sort of thing, but there's also, I think, a lot of people being prescribed Ozempic now for reasons that, they don't need to be. Mm-hmm. Why don't we put the money into technologies like PEMF therapy, like red light therapy, cold water immersion, saunas, all these sorts of things that genuinely work, that we're now seeing in all these wellbeing hubs that are all popping up. People are using and seeing amazing, results. One of the main things we get a lot of the time, feedback we get, is, I wish I'd known about this sooner. Like, it's, every time we get some feedback, it's great, it's done this, at the end, I wish I'd known about this sooner. And it's just like, just trying to get that out there. Yeah. We've been, like I mentioned, because of my health journey, I kind of branched away from the family medical business. Didn't go into competition with them or anything.
I was going to say, whoa, what's happening there?
It was more my own journey and the passion that I'd taken over on these PEMF products. Mm-hmm. So, gotta love it when the kids get involved in the podcast. She got
her ears perked up when you said about PEMF therapy.
Yeah. So this is the youngest.
There you go.
Right.
Is she on the PEMF mat? Are they too young?
To be honest with you, legally we're not allowed to say that children should be using it. Okay. There's no reason, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But my kids, my choice, they use it all the time.
Yeah, because I've got loads of questions. But I'll let you get it out first. Just briefly before you carry on. When you had this illness and whatever, what age are you at this point?
So it was 2014. 37 now. It was
27 then.
Yeah,
so
around
young,
like 10 years ago.
Not even in your prime of your life yet, and you're feeling that shit. The only reason I asked, because when I was about the same age. I had not as serious as that necessarily, although I felt it at the time. I was in Thailand. Yeah. I'll go briefly because I think I've told it on here before. But I went into like a Muay Thai camp to train out there in Thailand. And after the first day, I had a big fucking like lime green thing come up on my knee. You know, it's like you go, Abby, all right, cool, I'm fine. And then I'm looking at it as the day's going on, I'm training a bit, I'm going, I better get looked at type thing. So I get looked at anyway, they put me on a load of these pills and whatnot. And that night, I'm fucking dying. I'm by myself, by the way, I'm training, so I'm like fucking dying in the hotel room. Anyway, long story short, I go to all these different doctors, I'm in hospital out there for a bit, I come home. and they send me to the Tropical Disease Centre. I think it's in Bond Street. Someone might help me out with that. Anyway, they looked at the pills they'd given me in Thailand, and they were like, fuck, bro. They was like, we didn't say, bro, he's a doctor. They was like, we wouldn't give these to a farm animal here. Get rid of these immediately. And it was like but it was a long process to get back, and I didn't have the fucking PEMF and all this shit. So I basically just did what I could and ate well and all that stuff. And slowly it came back around.
Was that the Lyme disease, you say?
No, so it was like a lime green thing. So if you look at them lights on there, it was literally as fucking bright as that. But I had influenza, which was what they diagnosed me with out there. But because of that, my immune system was low, which is why I caught it. And then I was catching secondary infections, and it was just a downward fucking spiral. And by the time I got home, like 5 days later, I'd lost like 5 kilos, and I was in a bad way. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, not about me, but from the point of view of getting better from it, it was a long process, man. You know what I mean? And that was like, again, 27, young, eating well, sleeping right, doing all the right things. I did a bit of cold water stuff, but I had to be a bit careful because I was still feeling so fucking terrible for a long time. Like, I'm talking 4 or 5 weeks. And I'm like you, I'm not used to being sick. Do you know what I mean? So it was like a hard thing, but PEMF therapy, I'm assuming, would have done me the world of good back then as well.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the problem. When you get ill that young, the other thing that I was struggling with was being like a bit of a hypochondriac as well. Like, even after I'd healed and I was on the other side of it, you know, I was thinking I was dying of cancer one day, or dying of, you know,
you've always got something wrong.
You know what I mean? Because you're not used to being ill. You know, and again, that's something that PEMF helped with me was with my mental clarity and all that sort of thing. So, you know, I don't trust doctors anymore. One of the reasons why I haven't been there for so long. But I haven't needed to, so you know, it's a good thing. And there is a space for the medical industry, and there is need a lot of the time for some tablets. I you know, 100%.
Yeah.
Operations, antibiotics sometimes, but you know, it's the use of those. Like, I think it's just the excessive and the education around them.
Yeah, well, mate, I tell you what, I'm very kind of, not anti-antibiotic, because of course they've got a place, but I'm hesitant to take them and stuff now, man, because like, obviously, you see, I've got the cauliflower ear, and when that blew up on me, I had it cut up and stitched and everything, and they wanted to put me on antibiotics, and I didn't take them. I had them, I took them just in case it started to get thingy, but I didn't want to take them, because they was like, oh, it might get infected, blah, blah. But I just basically kept them with me as a precautionary, and I didn't end up taking them, and touch wood, it was all right. But I've become, a bit of a hypochondriac with like medication since, because I'm like, as I say, it's only antibiotics. It's not we're not talking about hard drugs or anything. But like, I didn't want to take them, man. After that experience, I was like, oh, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the mistrust in the industry as well, because you know, the whole vaccine thing. You know, a lot of people didn't take the vaccine. Some people did take it, but it was distrust. You know, if you didn't have this distrust in the industry, then everyone would be down there queuing up and doing what they're told to do. So.
But it goes the other way too, isn't it? Some people just blindly believe it. Yeah. Like some people just, no, they've told me I've got to take it, so I'll take it. And that that's a concern as well, isn't it, really? Do you know what I mean? Like if everyone just, or if you just listen blindly without the information. I think that's the biggest thing, is the information. Like I'm sitting here talking to you now, we're only, 5 minutes in or whatever, but there's an open-mindedness to you. It seems like you're in this kind of like, if it works, we'll try it type thing, versus the blind sign here, take this, see you later. Yeah.
And that's the thing. And the good thing about a lot of these therapies is they're all complementary. So we never ever say to any of our customers that come in that are on medication to stop taking their medication. Like it's the last, you know, and we're not doctors as well, so we have to put a disclaimer out that, you know, we're not medical professionals. We sell medical or wellness equipment, but we can't give out medical advice. But what these therapies do is they work very well complementary alongside these other things. And what we tend to see, most common one, people are on like blood thinners. PEMF therapy, other therapies help to thin the blood. It's not a byproduct of, like, it's not designed to thin blood. It's because your body's becoming more effective and it starts thinning its blood naturally.
Right.
So what we tend to see is people that are on really strong blood thinners start to reduce their blood thinners or come off them. By the doctor's advice, because they're looking at their blood and they're going, oh, you don't need this anymore. What have you done differently? 9 times out of 10, it's, oh, well, I've introduced this PEMF therapy. Oh, okay, yeah, whatever.
And what is it? They just look at it like a witch doctor rubbing a fishbone in front of you and going, oh, okay.
We've started using the word complementary instead of alternative a lot of the time, because when you say alternative,
it sounds like voodoo,
Yeah, and that's even yourself, even everyone else around you say alternative therapy, people go, oh, it's Reiki or it's this, or, you know, no offense to Reiki, but, you know, when someone says they're going to angle their hands at you and give you some power, you know, you have to be in the right mindset to...
Mate, I've spoke to someone once who had healing hands and was trying to fix my fucking shoulder with his healing hands. I know all about that shit, yeah.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, I've had great experience with some of these
Have
things.
you? Okay. I didn't have such a great experience.
So it's, being open-minded about a lot of it is good.
Yeah.
There are some things that go way down the rabbit hole. But this technology is proven. PEMF therapy, although in the UK it's not widely known about because we do follow what the NHS guidelines give us a lot of the time. Germany and the USA are really pioneers of this therapy.
The USA as well, that surprises me because they're quite pharma heavy, aren't they? I'm quite surprised they're big on it.
So because they are very anti-pharma and they are. So they're looking at other alternative ways of doing it. We're based in the UK, we're selling our devices here, but actually about 60-70% of our business now is in the US. We don't advertise out there, we don't do anything, it's just kind of word of mouth, it's spread and people are ordering systems. So we are launching an office in the US hopefully in the new year. So that's
Damn.
part
Maybe
of the
we'll have to do a part 2, I'll come out there and we'll do it in the office in the US.
You come out with us and do it there.
That'd be great.
So yeah, it's just changing people's mindset. I've been doing this now, like I say, since I was 27, since I got ill. As soon as I was back up and running and working again was when I made the decision to start Newmed and to start importing products to the UK because I found it really difficult to get them here. So it was like, let's start making this easier for people to buy it here, make the process easier. If we import it, we get it here, we get it on the line, on an online shop, people can just buy it, make it easy. It's been a long 10 years trying to educate people on PEMF therapy. We have to do like a free trial because we do a 30-day money back guarantee, so that because it's one of them therapies you have to try to believe in it. Within a day people start sleeping better, so that's like the first thing we usually tell people to monitor. And with the therapy it's important to kind of note that you don't feel anything at the lower intensities. So the lower intensity devices, with PEMF it's categorized into two. You've got high intensity, low intensity. Low intensity devices generally tend to be better suited at home. So you can use them on a daily basis. You don't feel it, but when I say you don't feel it, you do feel quite nice and warm, chilled and relaxed when using PEMF mat. But it's not like you're getting a deep tissue massage, or it's not like throwing yourself in a bucket of cold water. You know about that. So it takes a little while to educate people on what it does and how it works, and then it's just take it, use it, and then report back. Higher intensity systems, you can feel them. Those things you used to put on your ab when you was a kid, your mum used to have one, dad
the
used
old electric,
used to tone your abs, all that sort of thing. It's still about, but it's just not as widely used anymore. Feels a little bit like that.
Okay.
So it's still pulse electromagnets. It's not electric, which those were. They're just like dosing you with electric. These are pulse electromagnets, so you're still getting a magnetic field, but it just has that kind of sensation where it's kind of pulsing through the body.
Okay.
The higher intensity devices are a lot more expensive because you use a lot more copper in the systems, because the copper creates a magnetic field. And you tend to see those more in clinics or professional settings where they're seeing people less often. And we've sold a lot of those to football clubs and that sort of thing.
Are they the sort of thing you can't use daily?
You can use them daily, but it's putting it in the right people's hands. Okay. I had a chat with someone the other day who was an expert in high intensity systems, and he said people can overuse them in terms of the fact that it's not going to damage them or hurt them in any way. It's like having a workout though.
I believe I've seen this guy. Was it American guy? He had a bit of a silver fox beard. Yeah, I've seen this. Yeah, brilliant.
So it's a little bit like putting those TENS machines on for an hour. If you do that, you're going to be hurt the next day on that. So so there's the lower intensity systems you can lay on all night, 8 hours. You can't feel it. You can't kind of overdose on it. Higher intensity systems, you can make yourself ache and kind of overdo it a little bit in a sense. So it's just better that they're generally suited in more professional settings.
Yeah, I got you. And what's the sort of deal like in terms of, someone starting? Look, I'm not talking about someone necessarily, or maybe, but not necessarily someone who's really sick or a high-end athlete or whatever. Just sort of Joe average wants to start his PEMF journey. Yeah. Is there different levels of a setting, or how does it work? Do you just jump on and no worries about it, or?
So there is a low and slow approach that we normally go with everybody. some people can just jump on them, whack them up full blast, and away they go, and it's absolutely fine.
Okay.
Like I say, the good thing about PEMF therapy is there's no contraindicators in terms of nothing that you're going to do that is going to like seriously cause you any harm.
So you're not going to do it over crazy and grow an extra horn on your head or something. You're all right.
Yeah, exactly that. The only major contraindicator is pacemakers, because obviously if you've got a pacemaker that's regulating your heartbeat, you don't want to be throwing electromagnets at it.
No, I haven't got one of them yet, so I'm all right.
So other than that, you know, it's a safe therapy. You can use it. We do tell people to go low and slow, so there are intensity settings on most systems. The intensity generally affects the magnetic field in terms of the size of it. Okay. So the higher intensity, the bigger the magnetic field is going to be, more it's going to penetrate into the body. So we tend to say to people, once you get a PEMF mat, even the lower intensity systems, start on a lower setting, do it for a day and build yourself up. Because
I think when I did it, I just blitzed it to the highest regard and straight on, which is probably not the best thing from what you're saying. I should have started low.
Yeah, and it's.
And what's low? Tell me what's low, because I believe you can set in 10% settings. Am I right on that?
Yeah. So the Accelerate one, which you've used, that one you can set it down to 2%, and bring it all the way up to 100%. So, but it's measured in Gauss. So Gauss is the magnetic field strength. Okay. So it's like centimeters, meters, but this is Gauss. So the system we do goes up to 100 Gauss. Right. A lot of home systems only go up to about 2 Gauss. So ours is in a higher range of the lower intensity system, but there are high intensity systems that go up to about 20,000 Gauss. So they're the ones that, so they're the ones you can kind of feel kind of punching you in the back.
What would someone like myself do to start? If I, forget I've just started. If I'm starting now, where would be like a good place? Because I'm assuming there's a lot of people that train a lot and they're kind of tired and they want the benefits, blah, blah, blah. Where's a good place to start without being an idiot like me and just going high as it can go?
We recommend people on the first time start 10%.
Okay.
And then each day, if they've got access to it every day, they can increase it by 10%.
Oh, okay.
But as I say, those sorts of systems, you kind of can go on. If you're using it in a clinic setting, because we've got a lot of these in professional settings, I would generally say just go on 100%. Because you're probably not going to use it every day.
Right.
So you're going to maximise the amount of time you've got and just go
just
for
blitz it. Stop being a pussy, basically. Right.
So
the other thing that fascinates me with it is the red light stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So when I did it, I did face down for I believe 10 minutes. Yeah. And we'll get into times what you think you should do for time and whatnot. But I went face down 10 minutes and then face up 10 minutes. Yeah. Now when I first went up, I had the fucking fancy goggles on and all that shit. The lights were bright and stuff. And I've heard Gary Brecker talk about you can look at them and stuff. Yeah. How is it for your eyes? And the goggles, obviously the goggles you'd recommend, I'm assuming. But if I took the goggles off and just stared at the lights in that kind of fucking... Is that going to damage me, or how does that work?
So again, I have to kind of be careful in terms of... Our manual says wear the goggles. Yeah. I don't wear the goggles.
Okay.
And there's a lot of good evidence now coming out and studies that are showing that these red light therapy devices are really good for
And when you look at them, does your eyes go fucking hell?
It's bright.
But not just me.
What I tend to do, and I tell other people to do, if they want to use it without the goggles, is to close your eyes. Yeah. Keep your eyes closed for a good couple of minutes so that you've got because with the red light panels, you've got red light and near infrared light. The red light will only go skin deep, so that'll only go to the eyelids. Yep. The near infrared penetrates through the skin, so that will actually be coming through and that will be affecting your eyes. So even with your eyes closed, you still get an eye health and benefit.
Right.
But it also makes it a bit easier for you to open your eyes halfway through the session. Right. So rather than, a lot of people just kind of go under it, whack it on, lights come on, and it's like a deer in the headlights, it's like right in front of you. So best to kind of keep your eyes closed for a bit, get used to it.
So I could even go through a whole session with my eyes closed and then just sort of build it over time. Because when I first turned it on and I saw the brightness, I was like, fuck, how does anyone look at that? And then, whatever. But what sort of, again, like I said about the intensity, where's sort of a good place to start in terms of time under the red light and the PEMF and all that kind of business?
So the red light is just like the PEMF, it has an intensity setting as well. So you can actually bring that down if you want to. So again, best case scenario, a lot of the time, if it's your first time under one, lower the intensity on the PEMF, lower the intensity on the red light, just to get your session in, get used to it. Once you're happy, then the next time you come in, you can crank it up. To give you a bit of a different in the way they work, the PEMF therapy is a magnetic field and it passes straight through the body. It passes through clothes, it passes through everything other than metal items. So we tend to tell people to take the phone out, watches off, that sort of thing, because it just affects the magnetic field. But you can lay on your back on a PEMF mat and you'll get the magnetic field straight through the body.
Right, okay.
You start to lose intensity the further away, but generally it's fine to just lay one side.
Huh.
Red light's very different because obviously you have to expose skin to it. So the more skin you can expose to it, the better. And we kind of tell people to do a little flip as well. So, you can kind of like lay on the PEMF mat with your back to the red light. After 10 minutes, flip over and do the other side. So it's a little bit like laying in.
Because that's exactly what I did. So I feel better about this one. I mean, I put my pants on for the photo, but I went starkers to start with, and I thought, like, get everything, right?
And there's loads of studies, especially for men, well, only for men, sorry, for testosterone levels. And
really? Oh, it's legit. I'm not,
it's legit. And you can higher testosterone levels in men by treating your bollocks with red light. So,
I mean, my jokes are bad enough on here anyway, but fuck me, I mean, so it is as much skin as possible without trying to be funny. Like I'm talking, my brain's going sort of palms of your hands, soles of your feet, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's all relevant to sort of touch the red light, if you like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's loads of red light panels out on the market now. They're this big, and that will only treat that much of your body.
Right.
So people that are advertising a red light that you can put on the wall and you can stand back and it will kind of cover like this amount of the body, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
By the time you move that far away and by the time you lose all the power, but generally the rule of thumb is the size of the panel or the size of the device is how big of an area it's going to treat you.
Right.
So that's why with the Accelerate brand, we didn't want to go for loads of different options. It was like, right, it's all or nothing. It's like full body. We do a desktop one that you can use at the desk, but that is like basically for your face. And we don't expect people to be stripping down at their desks. So you've got that option, but the other one is just our complete, top to tail, full body. And like I say, the more skin you expose, the better a lot of the time.
I'm going to fucking run with that, bro. I tell you what. More excuse to take the clothes off. Yeah. No, but I think that, to be honest, where there's options for someone like me, and I guess a lot of people that are into sport and whatever, your brain goes a million miles an hour anyway. So if you give me options, you've crucified me because I don't know what to do, right? So whereas the whole thing, it was quite easy. As I said, I was at my friend's house who put it on for me and set me up, and I just jumped on it, and it was quite simple, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I liked. But the other end of it, obviously, I'm around a lot of martial arts and stuff, and a big one is like brain health, and people talk about like CTE is kind of a buzzword now, isn't it? And everyone's worried if you get like poked in the eye once, you're going to fucking have dementia in 2 years. But I'm assuming from what I've heard, and you tell me, I've seen sort of studies with rugby players using this kind of shit that are suffering with like, you can't be diagnosed with CTE, I believe, till you're dead anyway, but like that have got signs of it and whatever, and they've started to sort of go down that route. And when you said about the one on the wall, I've seen so many people standing in front of one on the wall. Is that something, I'm assuming you've probably covered it anyway, but like in terms of brain health and whatnot, is that all tied into the body and the cells and whatnot? Yeah,
and that's why we created the full body package, and a lot of people, so reeling back a little bit with the PEMF systems, we created Newmed and we imported a bunch of products from different manufacturers. And when people call us because of the confusion of all of, you introduce someone to PEMF therapy, they go online, they get massively confused. You've got localized devices that treat areas, you've got full body mats. So we even didn't have a clear route. So when people would come to us and say, oh, I want something for brain health or I want something for this, we had to sort of say to them, right, you've got this device, you've got that device, but this one's good for this and this one's good for this. So that's where Accelerate was born. With the medical manufacturing business Bedfont, we was able to make our own device, and I basically like nitpicked all the best parts of all the devices and stuck it all into one. So the good thing about our device is you've got the full body mat, but you've also got a little localized applicator too. And that can be used solely on its own. So you get PEMF therapy that's specifically for the brain. It's called transcranial PEMF. And you can apply that directly to the head. So again, it's something we have seen a lot of people, you look a bit silly, but you can put our device, strap it to the back of your head with the strap around the front, and it's just ticking away, and it's working directly to the brain. And
you wear this out and about, do you, to shops?
Yeah, not so much out and about, I do it around the house. But we've seen people, dental pain is a huge one. You get infections in teeth and all that sort of thing. We've seen loads of people posting our device, stuck to the side of their face and that sort of thing. But other than that, you probably get teeth punched out and black eyes, all that sort of thing that you want to, so you want to treat. So we wanted to create something that was like as close as we can get to one device does all, take all the confusion out of things. And again, when it comes back to treating the brain health, it's treating the whole body as well. I don't like to, even when people have something specific, so they've got arthritis in their knee or they want to treat the brain, a lot of the time I say to them, don't just go for a localized device that you're just going to apply there, because you're not going to get the benefits of the whole body. Right. In terms of the increased circulation and the cell health. You know, we're made up of trillions and trillions of cells. So there's no point in just treating that area, getting oxygen to that area, because it is a combination of different things. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time people have pain lower back, but they don't realise that the issue is actually their shoulder, mm-hmm. and they're compensating for it. So it's all about taking the time out, and I really believe that you need to put the time in these days to your health. You know, there was a quote that I heard that's like, if you don't make time for wellness, you'll be forced to make time for illness. Mm-hmm. You know, and it can't be any more true than that. It's just like, I put at least 20 minutes a day into my health every day, and my solution is I roll out of bed, I roll onto our full body biohacker package, like the one that you was using, and I get my PEMF and my red light.
Okay.
And the good thing about red light, so the PEMF side of it is treating the cells in the body. The red light has a similar effect. It doesn't penetrate as deep, but it also has a good effect for collagen production and skin health. So it's a big thing at the moment. People want to look young, live young.
Well, I was going to say, you're a good fucking advert. You're older than me, but you look a lot fucking younger, so I've got to get on that thing a lot more. But is there a better time?
A few more fights than I have.
Well, I'm not as pretty as I used to be. Yeah, I say that a lot on here. But is there a better time of day? Because you said you use it first thing in the morning. Is that beneficial, or does it not really matter?
With the PEMF, you can use it any time of day, because the thing is with the PEMF, and what we've done is we've created time of day settings. So again, you used to choose a frequency. So this is where it gets a little deeper. Most devices you can choose a frequency, so that's how often it pulses in a second. So if you go for 10 hertz, it's going to pulse that magnetic field 10 times in 1 second. Go for 100 hertz, 100 times per second. So the idea behind PEMF therapy is to use a higher frequency in the morning and a lower frequency in the evening. Right. Because our brain runs at those frequencies. You've probably heard delta, beta, theta, delta, all these different brain states. That's how quickly our brain is processing things. In sleep, we're in our delta phase. So we're like 4 hertz, 1 to 4 hertz. So it's really super low. Mm-hmm. A lot of people that dream in or can't sleep, insomniacs, all that sort of thing, they struggle to get into that delta phase. So they struggle to switch their brain off to do that.
If you're dreaming, that is as well, just
if you're dreaming, you tend to be between 4 and 8 hertz. Okay. So it's in your, I always get mixed up, it might be theta. Could be wrong, but I think it's the theta range.
So dream range is not ideal, is that what I'm hearing?
No, so that's your REM sleep. So that's when you get your Fitbits and all these sorts of things, they'll tell you that your REM sleep is this much and your deep sleep is this much. We want the deep sleep. Like the REM sleep is better than no sleep, but it's when you're active, when you're thinking, when you've got eye movement.
With the because REM is rapid eye movement, I believe, right? Yeah. So, but like I always assume that when you're dreaming, you're in a deep sleep, but apparently not.
No. That's when you're almost in state of consciousness. So that's when you're kind of coming out through. So a lot of the time you tend to have your dreams when you're waking up in the morning. So they're new and vivid in your mind. You know, and when people wake you up and you're halfway through a dream, it's because you're kind of like, So your deep sleep tends to happen. You know, if you look on those fitness trackers, it tends to happen like kind of in the middle or in like midnight or something. You know, a couple of hours after you've gone to sleep. Mm-hmm. So with the PEMF therapy, you can actually use it. Our little controller you can put under your pillow, and it runs the delta frequencies. So it starts to. You can run it all night, or we actually tell people to run it for 2 hours. Right. Because we've had people that run them all night, and they wake up like, I feel like I'm still, waking up in that phase of like. It's like when you take a sleeping tablet that does the same sort of thing. But you wake up in the morning feeling like you hadn't gone to bed. Right. So it's like, because you're still in those
you've gone too deep for too long, sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So the PEMF therapy you can use pretty much any time of day, and you regulate when you're using it. The morning setting or the evening setting is the two main ones on our device, and that will run the frequencies that are best for those time of days. and they still have the good influencing factors on your cells. Red light therapy, it kind of comes down to personal preference. A lot of people say that they use their red light before bed. I don't.
Right.
I really want to. My circadian rhythm to me is like really important, and you want to keep that circadian rhythm normal. So I don't really get lying under a red light just before you go to bed, because you're replicating the kind of the light that you get from the sun.
That's where I fucked up, but see, my only option is at my friend's house, right? So I can only really use it before I go to bed. Well, unless I go round and knock you up and fucking wake you up at like 6 in the morning. But yeah, so it makes sense, common sense, right? The sun's coming up, and that's when you're supposed to get your red light.
Exactly. I tend to use red light only when the sun's up. But I normally only use it once a day, just because I don't have time to use it as often as I should.
Would you use it more?
If I could, I probably would, yeah. So, and I'd regulate it throughout the year. So I always use, so I set my alarm 20 minutes before I normally get up. So I'd normally get up 7. I now set it at 6:40.
Oh, so, you're one of them loungers that kind of like yawns and fucking rolls about. I gotcha.
Yeah, that's it. So, and then, rushing out the door because I've been in bed too long. Yeah. But again, sleep for me is quite important. So 6:40, my alarm goes off. I jump down into the garage, and here my Biohacking package is set up just to over here. And I roll under that, and it's a lovely feeling, because especially the red light, it just feels like you're laying on a sun lounger. It's just like nice and warm. And I put that in the morning setting. So I've got the higher frequencies of the PEMF, and I've got the red light, which is replicating the sun. That sets me up for the day. And
sorry, just to cut you off there, you do sort of 10 minutes face down, 10 minutes up type business,
I literally do that, yeah. So like cooking a hot dog underneath
it.
People ask me, a question that I probably should bring up is like, am I going to get a tan under it? Because it's a common question. And unfortunately, no, you won't get a tan. The reason being, you're taking the UV out of it. So so what you're doing under a red light lamp is you're taking all the nutrients that you would get from the sun, but we're taking out all the nasties, all the cancer-causing issues like ultraviolet, that sort of thing. So that doesn't give you a tan, but what it does do is it will improve the complexion of your skin, and that's what I tell a lot of people. So it's kind of like, all right, so I won't get tan, but I will lose some wrinkles and we'll start to look a bit like...
You won't get tan, but you won't be spotty either, so you'll be all right. But it's in terms of like the longevity of this, obviously it's quite a new thing. Like, is this the sort of thing that I'm assuming, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but is like designed to sort of extend life, quality of life, and like when we're 100, we can still sit here and do a podcast and bullshit about terrible jokes like we are today.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so, and only time will tell. I've been using PEMF therapy for 10 years now, so I've been using it as consistently as I can since I had those health issues and since I had all the problems.
We might have to get a before and after photo, because I want to see how young you looked at 24, because the way you look now is like, that's the face you want, because we've all seen these people that do like, I don't know, for example, not to pick on it, but like the paleo diet, and they've been doing it for 50 years, but they look like a fucking shriveled fruit. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not worth it. Do you know what I'm saying? It hasn't sort of proved it, whereas obviously you're still a young man, I'm bullshitting with you, but it's like, that's the face you'd want to see, right? You'd want to see someone who looks the part and looks like they're doing this and it's fucking working.
And it's moderation, because moderation is a massive thing for me, because in terms of using a lot of different things, and like you say, you get people that do like the paleo diet, or they become a vegan, strict vegan, and they're intense diets. They're just cutting so many things out. My diet is just anything that I can eat, it's same with these biohacking modalities, PEMF therapy, red light therapy is amazing, but my brother next door's got a sauna, so we use that, I've got a cold dip, so I kind of put a number of different things into this, but the only one that I use daily and religiously is the PEMF and the red light, because that's kind of like what kind of set me on this journey, and hopefully in 40 years time we can do this podcast again, and we'll see what the differences are.
Mate, let's hope firstly that I'm still here in 40 years, and secondly this podcast is still here and fucking working for me. But you said daily you use this, and you touched on the sauna and the cold therapy and stuff. Take us through sort of what's a week look like for you, mate, because obviously if you can, we can see bits of it on the camera here, but you've got a mad gym set up here as well. We've got gymnastics ring, punch bag. This is basically like my heaven. You said your brother lives next door with the setup. I'm thinking about relocating and moving down.
Space this side.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I can put a sleeping bag over there, I think. But like, take us through sort of what a week looks like for you. Obviously, family man, you got kids, you got the whole deal. So it's not like you're 21 and you got all the time in the world. But what's sort of a week of, we call it well-being if you like, but training, the whole sort of package. What do you do yourself?
Yeah. So like you say, I'm running a company called Newmed, so I've got that to consider. We've just launched our own device, so we've got that to consider. We're trying to launch in America. We've got that to consider. I'm going out to America in January. Lots of things going on the work side of things.
Yeah.
Family life, I'm living here with my wife. We've got 2 kids, one's 5, one's 3. The 3-year-old could be 10 of them. She's a difficult one to look after.
This is the one who made an appearance.
The one that came in. No shit, it was her that came in. I love her really. So yeah, we've got busy lives. I'm in the office 5 days a week, and training schedule, I try and get in 2 to 3 times a week. I'm not crazy training. You can overtrain. I've just done high rocks at the weekend, so that was something that I was training to do. Running something that comes a little bit more naturally to me. But as I was talking to you before this podcast, I'd love to do another fight. The wife won't let me.
We'll talk to her. I'll talk to her.
We'll get one in. So it's not a crazy schedule. I train 3-4 times a week. I use my PEMF therapy every day. Like I say, I put 20 minutes aside to my health at least per day. When I'm training, it's a 40 to an hour kind of session, and it's not crazy than that. It's just regulating what you're eating, watching what you eat. When people say to me they don't have time for their health, that really annoys me.
Yeah.
It's like I say, if they don't have time for it, they're gonna have to make time for it.
I mean, if you ain't got time for your health, you ain't got time for nothing, really. If you that's a crazy comment to say. And to come out your mouth and not think that's a stupid comment is kind of bizarre, isn't it? Really, because the reason I ask you is, a lot of the people I've had on here, I've been lucky to have strength and conditioning coaches, high-level fighters, and training partners and whatnot. And the ones that have more success and the ones that are doing more, it always seems like they've got that less is more approach. And it's not, when I say simple, I don't mean it like they're simple or stupid or anything, but in that kind of I just do a bit of this, I do that, I get strong, and that's it. Do you see where I'm coming from? It's not overcomplicated, it's not rocket science, and you don't have to sort of spend, like we're saying, 6 hours a day grinding and smashing it and having no life. You're a great example of that because you've got the whole setup in here, like we've said, but also wife, kids, normal life to a degree. Do you know what I mean? You're traveling all over the world with your job. So you're a candidate of someone who could definitely go, oh, I ain't got time. It's not the case. You haven't got time not to, is more what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah, and when you've got a fight coming up, because I pull from my experience, my one fight, your mentality is, if I'm not training, they are training. And even at that time, I think I was training every single day, and 2-3 hours. There's people that probably do that 8 hours, something stupid. And you've got to think about not putting yourself, rolling around an octagon for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not going to do you any justice. That's why people are starting to look at all these other alternatives. Putting 20 minutes of that routine on a PEMF and a red light is going to massively help with, so talking about what it does, I mentioned ATP production, and that's where, so my journey was coming through on a health side of things. About 80% of our business in the UK is ill people. People tend to get ill, then look for help. Not the mentality it should be. But we are seeing a huge shift. And I think since 2020, since COVID, was probably one of the catalysts. And one of the good things that came out of the whole pandemic was people are looking at their health a lot differently. And you mentioned biohackers before, that's where we're actually seeing a lot of our business going. And when I say to you, we're not advertising in the US, we're not doing anything over in the US, but we're making a load of sales over there now, they tend to be healthy young people that are buying them, and they're buying them on this kind of biohacker thing, which is, I'm 37 now, I want to live to 150, I'm going to start that process now, and it's all these sorts of things that these modalities are doing. So the biggest one for yourself or for people that are fighting and that sort of thing is the ATP side of these. So the good thing about, so people say to me, what do I notice? Because I'm not ill. What do I notice using PEMF and red light? I notice my energy through the day is insane. And I get to 8 o'clock and I'm still bouncing off the walls,
Oh, you're that guy that drives his wife mad. She's like, fucking leave me alone. Go and sit and watch the telly.
And it's kind of like, when I want the energy, it's there.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of PEMF and red light. So, and the way they complement each other well is that PEMF therapy, someone described it to me before, is a bit like using your a phone on a wireless charger, and I think that's a good analogy. So you've got your battery inside your phone, and you've got these wireless chargers now. You don't have to necessarily connect them anymore. So you've got this wireless charger, which is effectively a PEMF mat. You put your phone on it, and there's an energy transfer, and the energy transfer is charging those batteries. It's exactly what you're doing on a PEMF mat, right. But you're doing it down to the cellular level. So it's kind of where it gets deep. You've got your mitochondria, which is all your cells. Inside your mitochondria, inside the cell, you've got the mitochondria, and the mitochondria are the batteries. So they're like, you've got around 8 or 10 mitochondria in a normal kind of human cell, more on a healthier cell. They're like your body batteries. So if they're depleted, that's where you're feeling sluggish and no energy. PEMF therapy has the ability to change those cells and charge those batteries. So it's like literally every morning putting yourself on a little battery charger, recharges those cells. The red light therapy comes in and it helps the body to use that ATP. So a bit like photosynthesis, and you've got the sun and all that sort of thing, it uses the energy and it makes that energy transferable. So same sort of thing. So the two do both. The two build ATP and then use ATP, but the PEMF therapy is more effective at building the ATP, and the red light therapy is more effective at using it. So, as I say, our shift went from all these ill people to this 1% club, which is what I call them. And it's people that have got a fight coming up, and they need that 1%. They need that 1% on top of their opponent. And they're starting to look at these other modalities, and using the PEMF and a red light every day is, in my opinion, going to give you that extra 1%. It's going to help with your energy when training, it's going to help with your sleep, and it's going to help you recover from injuries, because something we haven't touched on a lot in this podcast is injury prevention and recovery.
Oh, we're coming on to it, bro, don't worry. I've got a million of them to discuss with you.
So that's another thing that is super effective when it comes to PEMF. So it creates an environment in the body to heal. So it's not doing anything. We always say that PEMF therapy is not condition specific. So we get people to come to us and say, I've got cancer, I've got bowel cancer, and I need your device to target the bowel cancer. And we're like, it doesn't work like that. What it's doing is creating the ultimate human. It's creating the ultimate human that's able to heal. Like what you're supposed to do. Cancer is only there because you're unable to heal because of something else is going on. So if you can create the perfect environment in your body to heal, recover, and have energy, that's what we're trying to do. And it's the other side of taking tablets. It's the opposite complementary side of this thing. So yeah, kind of what it is in a nutshell.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you explained it better than I'm glad you said it rather than tell me and I had to tell someone, because the amount of times I spoke to people on the podcast and someone goes, what did they say about such and such? Could be anything. Could be fighting, could be massage, whatever, right? And I try and relate it to them and they go, oh, that's cool. Fuck's sake. Like, listen to the podcast, bro. But that was brilliant.
You have to find out what part this is on the podcast.
Exactly,
now.
yeah. We'll clip it
at
up.
34 minutes, we'll show you.
34 minutes, watch that, shut the fuck up, leave me alone. But I tell you what's interesting, you said like the 1% club, which I'm assuming you're talking about like athletes and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
Now, if, I don't know if there's any athletes you can name, and no problem if not, but like I'm assuming you've worked with athletes and that have come to you and said like, we're using an example of a fight. I've got a fight coming up. I've got, 12-week camp. This hurts, that hurts, because that's how fighters are.
So
how does that work in terms of, do you look at a whole health thing and sort of a whole like total human thing like you mentioned, or is it more, we ain't got time for that shit, we worry about that after you fight?
Yeah. So I mean, we're obviously only into the providing of the equipment, so we can only provide like kind of part of the puzzle. But giving you some examples, like we've got a system to Luke Campbell. So, and if anyone doesn't know Luke Campbell, he was a world title contender twice in boxing.
And Olympic champion.
And he came to us too late, in my opinion, because he came to us only last year. So, he's
retired already, isn't he?
He's retired already. Yeah, so, unfortunately, I can't say to you, we gave it to him and he beat Garcia in that fight, in that last the world title fight. But
he's still young, right? So come on, look, liven yourself up, mate, eh?
Yeah. And from that, Matchroom have contacted us now, so we're going down to Matchroom. It was supposed to be this week actually, but we're going to go down next week now.
Mate, I'll carry the bags if you like. I'll come with you.
Yeah. So we're going down there, and they promised to do a little video for us with Eddie Hearn and all sorts. So it's quite nice that we're going to get that side of it. But for them, you know, they want to put one in their, in Matchroom. They've got a little room for it to go in, and it's going to go in there.
Fucking bit tight that in the head. Come on, mate, you got a bit of money, ain't you? Get more than one.
Yeah,
Jesus.
that's it. So they're going to get that one in there, see how it goes. But they're going to start using that as their recovery tool, and because the good thing about this is I think one of your guys was talking about passive and non-passive therapies before. So it's a therapy that people can come in, switch on, use without anybody else being there. So, you know, you don't have to have a massage therapist. You don't have to have a professional.
You're embarrassing me there because my friend had to turn it on for me, but please carry on as you were.
Yeah, that's it. So after you've been instructed how to use it. So it's something you can put in a room where people just go in there, lock themselves in and use it for 20, 30 minutes, however long they want to use it for. So, you know, it's not like they're having to have oils and rub down and have someone supervise them the whole time. Even, you know, I love oxygen therapy chambers. I think the results that you get from them things is absolutely incredible. Use the long PEMF and red light, amazing. You know, that is the epitome of health. Mm-hmm. But the problem with oxygen chambers is a lot of the time you have to have someone supervising you. You know, you need someone to help you get in and out, repressurize the cylinder, all these sorts of things. So, and that therapy is between an hour and an hour and a half. So it's a long, drawn out process. But what this can do is kind of just get something in there that is a lot quicker, and people just go in and use it. Mm. But like you say, it is part of the puzzle. It's, you know, we never say to someone, whatever you're doing right now, introduce PEMF and red light and it will fix everything. You know, you need to look at what else is causing this.
Yeah.
You know, and this will be the complementary factor that will help you get to where you need to get to. So, are you eating ultra processed foods? Are you, all these sorts of things. Start eating foods with one ingredient. You know, that's it's kind of one of my mentalities, mottos is one ingredient foods. You know, and meat. I love meat. You know, it's this. You cut that bit.
Well, no, we're keeping that in. We're going to talk about carnivore diet now.
You're going to get that repeat now.
Yeah.
I love meat.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You said to me off camera, well, fuck vegans as well. Then you're saying about all vegans should burn. I don't know. Yeah, no.
So yeah, I mean, it's all about varied, and putting all those bits of the puzzle into the whole solution. Mm-hmm. So, and not overtraining, get your hours in that you need to get in.
Because that's kind of, you touched on two things really, which was in my mind when I brought up athletes. Because like athletes will typically, if you say to and I'm not even talking about top level. I'm talking about people that take it serious and they dedicate to it. They'll do anything. What can I do? If you tell them they can lay on a bed for 20 minutes, they're going to bite your fucking arm off for one. And two, it's the sort of whole process of training too much, which is typical. You know what I mean? Athletes aren't lazy. They'll train too much before they train not enough. So when you start winding them back and taking them out of that, which I'm coming round to a little bit of training less and doing less, and almost a mentality of training less but practicing more, if that makes sense. So there was a great, I don't know if I'm going off a little bit here, but I posted saying there was a great video of Terence Crawford. I don't know if you know who Terence Crawford is.
I don't know.
One of the best pound for pound boxers in the world. Probably my choice for the best pound for pound boxer in the world. Undefeated world champion, multiple weights, blah, blah. But he posted a video and he's sort of shadowboxing and he's moving. And it's an extended video and he's shadowboxing, moving, slipping, sliding. It's all stuff, it's not easy because of the skill level he's at. But I'm talking about in terms of the output he's giving. He's not working hard. But he's, and it's that's part of his training, a big part of his training. Do you see what I'm saying? He's not like, he's not running 50, I mean, maybe he is as well, but the video's not of him running 15 miles and doing 6 million push-ups and jumping jacks and all that kind of shit. He seems, and he's at the top of the game, he seems like a guy that's got, and I can't, again, speak for him, but he seems like he's got it keyed in of like, he looks at it like, and a lot of guys do, Canelo's another one, but they seem like they're working towards fight night. They're working towards getting better versus the old school mentality that we've all done of just hit the bag a million rounds and turn up gaunt and drained and feel shit. But we made it to the fight, so we must be doing something right because we worked so hard. So pairing that is in, when I say pairing it, I mean peeling back people's training and then sticking them on a PEMF. PEMF?
Yeah.
And red light, I got it right. PEMF and a red light and all that kind of shit. It's like, I'm assuming they'll get even better results because you've not taken control of the other stuff they're doing, but just sort of highlighted an area by saying something very simple and taking them away from some of the old-fashioned stuff they do. Am I somewhere in the neighbourhood?
Yeah, exactly. And I was just thinking about another example. My favourite boxer is Carl Froch. I was thinking about it in my head.
I was going to say, he's such a favourite, you can't remember his fucking name.
So my favourite boxer is Carl Froch, and the first Froch Groves.
Joe Kazagi's son, that isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
It's a joke.
So I went to Wembley to watch the first one.
Sorry, say again. You went to Wembley for
Froch
Froch
Groves.
Groves. I was there myself, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good
cool.
night. Yeah.
And and that was a controversial stoppage.
The first one. Sorry, that was in Manchester. The
first one was in Manchester. I was at the second one.
Yeah, the second one was Wembley.
Yeah. So the first one was a controversial stoppage, and you can tell something there was wrong in Froch's camp. He either underestimated Groves or something wasn't right. And he changed something, he added something, he did something for the next fight, and it was a different fight, and the way he finished Groves in that evening was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But same thing, what did he add into that into that equation that changed it so dramatically that gave him those extra results, and that's where we're trying to come in at these different modalities.
Well, it's interesting, that one as well, because if you see that, and I've had Barry O'Connell, who was in George Groves' corner for that night. And we're speaking about things, and just from seeing it over the years, is like it seemed like Groves went from super confident and Froch went from sort of festered and annoyed and whatever, and they switched, and then Carl Froch kind of was like confident, and George Groves was almost like trying to get a reaction out of him. And do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what's funny about that slight side note. I might mention it on here before. I saw George Groves a couple of times, just saw him, just in between them fights, just like a weird one. I don't know him, but I've seen him a couple of times in gyms and whatever he is, which is whatever. But I saw him literally outside of Waitrose. And it was between the fights, and it was at that stage where people probably recognised him, but there wasn't a crowd around or anything. And I kind of, when you lock eyes with someone, just catch him. And he was probably twice the distance away from me of what you are. And he had that look of like, like, leave me alone. Like, I'm struggling here. I've just had that happen to me. I'm stressed, whatever. And I just kind of gave him a nod. And he kind of nodded back, and I could see he was like, he appreciated me not fucking talking to him. Do you know what I mean? But he's shockingly big, by the way, if you ever met him, for the weight he fought at. But
you say about this story, I actually met Froch. I didn't meet him again. I saw him. I was checking into a zoo up north actually, and I see him there with his family. I did the same sort of thing. Really wanted to go over and give him a big hug, but I gave him his space and that sort of thing. But again, like you say, the big lads, you don't see it on the screen until and people don't realise how big AJ is and all that sort of thing. Obviously they're heavyweights, but until you actually see them kind of in the person, these guys are giants.
He's looked like that forever. Like he's about a year older than me, and he came to our boxing club, but a couple of times you'd see him at boxing clubs for sparring and stuff. Like different clubs would meet each other and spar, and he looked like that then. And I'm 18, and I looked like I was about 18. And you look at him and you go, "What the fuck is that thing there?" Do you know what I mean? Like he was like, he's proper 6'6", like 110 kilos without an ounce of fat on him. And it's like, he's got a leg up in the game already, do you know what I mean? But good luck to him, because we can come on to that actually. We can come on to that because he's a matchroom boxer, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like he's just had a hard night. Now I'm not going to put you on the spot and say, could have PEMF Matt help him? But I'm assuming from the point of view of like someone's been through hard fights, take AJ out of it, but you know what I mean? Like someone's had a hard night at the office. They've been knocked out. They've had a hard training camp. Their hand hurts. This hurts. Would it be a good thing to sort of take on board that kind of side of things and just use it as more of like, I don't know if like a chill out vibe is the right word, but do you get where I'm coming from? It's just something to sort of take your mind off things and focus on your body versus worrying about the sport too much. Yeah,
and that's the thing. If you wanna put the hours in the training, that you do also need to put some time into these. Give an example. I went to a wellness festival recently, and there was a flight involved in it, and I got up first thing. We were doing training. We actually did boxing training with a company called Jab Boxing in London. Nice guys. I came out of that, it was 2 hours worth of training. I'd had this long flight and I was just zapped, and I wanted to go to all the other talks, wanted to do all the other things, and I had a decision. It's kind of like, right, do I just power through? Or my decision was to just go back to the room. I had my PEMF mat with me because it's nice and portable. Laid on the PEMF mat, 30 minutes, just had my eyes closed, 30 minutes on the PEMF mat, woke up and I was like, it just feel like I'm ready to go again. It's like I had like an 8 hour sleep. And that's what these people were needing in these gyms. Just an area like Matchroom, just an area we can go and say, right, I've done 4 hours training this morning. I've got another 2 hours. I'm zapped. I'm either going to spar someone and absolutely make an ass of myself, or let's go put 20 minutes into this and then come back, fresh mind, ready to go again. And it's like I say, with the whole phone and the battery thing, it's like recharge those batteries, come back out again. So then you're going to make less injuries and always, so it's a smart choice. It's a smart choice.
And it's an easy choice as well, and it lands you back. Can you use it multiple times a day? You kind of said yes without saying yes, but you can, I'm assuming, just every time you feel a bit zapped, go, fuck it, I'll do 20 minutes or whatever.
Literally like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, most people like myself, I'm not training those hours, but I am kind of having to switch my brain on a lot of the time in front of my laptop. I'll just use mine once a day. I use it in the morning. But you can easily, like I say, the device has got multiple different times on it. So you've got morning, you got evening, you got night, and you got meditation, because a lot of people like to meditate on their mat. So another thing that kind of people can do, and meditation in itself is a time to chill, relax, reflect on yourself. Why not be getting a therapy at the same time?
Can you do like multiplayer? Is there like a multiplayer version where you get two people on the mat at the same time?
Oh, you can squeeze them on.
That was a terrible joke, by the way. But no, the reason I ask a lot of things with the mats and stuff, like obviously jiu-jitsu's a big one for me, which I train a lot now. And a lot of the guys and girls that do jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of grind training. Like you turn up at dojos and you're just training for hours. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you'll be kind of tired and then you'll train again. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of that like, I haven't really got enough energy, I'll start training and you'll get through it. Like things like this would fucking be like hotcakes in those kind of gyms. Is that kind of a vibe of the future, do you think? Like, will most gyms have one?
That's what we want it to be, yeah. And almost like a vibe that you can come in and tap your phone on it and it sets it up, that sort of thing. Like
so it's got your own settings of like...
Yeah, that's what we'd like to do, like long term, I mean, at the moment it's really easy set up anyway. It's just kind of turn it on, put it into the settings, and away you go. But yeah, it's that kind of vibe. Where you've got the gyms and you've just got these like massage chairs you put a pound in. And
airports have them now.
Airports, all that sort of thing. That would be the kind of future goal, to have that. And we want to. Our goal is really to have PEMF mats in every house. That's like it's in every house. It's an ambition.
By when? When are we talking? Give me a time frame, bro. Yeah.
But no, I mean, kind of reeling this all the way back to what PEMF therapy and how it starts is PEMF therapy is about getting yourself onto a magnetic field. We get a magnetic field from the earth. The earth produces a magnetic field. But we're now sitting here talking in an area where we're completely protected from the magnetic field, because especially all the rubber that we've got on the floor here is preventing us. We've got shoes on. It's all stopping us from getting those magnetic fields. So when they were so NASA actually used this therapy because they were taking people up to space. They were taking them away from the magnetic field. And what they were finding is that these astronauts were coming down super sick. And one of the things they were noticing was that their bones were starting to get weak.
Right.
So like, what's happening when we take them up there that's making them so sick and so weak? They found out that if they put a magnetic field back into the stations, they were coming down just as healthy as they were going up there. So
really?
It was
even the bones and stuff?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So it was all about this magnetic field that you're taking away from people. PEMF therapy wouldn't exist if we didn't have rubber shoes and cars and houses and we sleep 2 stories up, completely away from, so if we were still sleeping on the floor and living in caves and all that sort of thing, we wouldn't need PEMF therapy, and that's known as grounding, which you've probably heard about before.
Yeah. No, sorry, the only reason I'm smiling is you touched on a few things there. I've had some conspiracy guys on it. They go fucking mental with some of the stuff you said there about shoes and space and floors and whatever.
No, and
we'll circle back.
It's all true, you get these conspiracy guys that are saying all these things, but there's so much truth in a lot of it.
Well, I've had a guy on who doesn't wear shoes.
Yeah.
I've had someone who doesn't believe in space.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
That may be a bit different.
I mean, flat Earth, so I guess the buildings and stuff, there's a lot that, but maybe we'll circle back to that in a second. But if you talk, when we're talking about the magnetic field of the Earth, explain that a little bit, because I kind of know where you're coming from, but for anyone who doesn't, explain that for us a little bit.
Yeah, so a term that's thrown about a lot at the moment is grounding. And grounding is basically taking your shoes off, going outside, finding a bit of grass or concrete or stone, something that's natural, and putting your feet on it. What that does is that just discharges the body, and it has a similar effect to laying on a PEMF mat. It doesn't charge the body like a PEMF mat does, and if it does, it takes a lot longer to do it. So PEMF mats can be kind of speeding up the process. But it is basically taking your body back to nature. And we are completely protected against all of this now. So we are getting sicker because of living in houses and all the comforts we have. So we do need to introduce these things back to the body to kind of like make ourselves a lot healthier. And like you say, he's had someone on the podcast with no shoes on, and it's something I believe in. You know, I wear shoes. I'm, you know, a bit more fitting into mainstream. I've got PEMF, so I don't need to necessarily not walk around without shoes.
And you can go too far, you could be the weirdo then, right? And it goes the other way, where you don't, you know, you're disconnected too much that people don't listen to you because you turn up to be the guy with no shoes on and long hair and like, hey man, no man. Do you know what I mean? You become
that's
that guy.
it. We wouldn't be taken seriously.
There you go.
If I was sitting in those yoga pants with, you know, something and
levitating
shoes
above
off
the floor,
all these sorts of things, which I could be, and I, you know, believe in some of that stuff. People would just take one look at you and go, well, whatever he's selling, I don't want it. Unless it's mushrooms.
Exactly. Exactly. But you get disconnected. If you, like you said, if you with the shoes, if you go too far that way, people don't want to listen to your PEMF Matt because you just go in that kind of like weirdo category, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's shoes you can buy now, isn't there? There's barefoot and all these sorts of things.
Yeah, but you're not connected to the earth anyway. They just let your feet work more naturally, right?
Yeah, but some of them are saying they don't use conductive materials. So it's like, it's almost like, as close as you can get to.
It makes me, like I've been barefoot shoes on and off since 2012. I wear them a lot. I've had some injuries and stuff and like just doing too much in them basically. So I'm in like, you know, trainers again.
I mean, I went for a run in barefoot, like a 5-mile run. I wouldn't do it again.
No, see, do you know what? I used to sprint in them and stuff. I used to do all kind, and it wasn't so much like an injury instantly, but I was just tight around it and I was suffering, do you know what I mean? And I just felt like it was tight. And advice from certain people like that worked on my body and whatnot of like, leave them alone a bit, you know? Like don't go so crazy, because I'm sure you've experienced this a lot with people that you've worked with, is I'm a bit of a, if I do something, that's what I do now. Like for example, like the PEMF mat, that would be something I'd do now, which would be a positive thing. But if I started wearing barefoot shoes, now that's all I wear. I don't wear shoes, bro. Do you know what I mean? And you can go too far with that side of things too, which relating that to athletics, like I'm sure when you've worked with professional athletes, they don't care necessarily about their health now. They're looking at performance, right? And it's detrimental over time. When you get to say 40 and you spent your whole life getting punched in the head as an example, there's consequences to that. It doesn't mean you're going to be 60 and dribbling and don't know where you are necessarily. It could be, but at the same time, the shoulder pain when you pick up your coffee in the morning, you know, you walk funny now, you've got a bad knee, it all ties in and goes from there. So if you was to catch sort of, let's just say a young, fresh 18-year-old that's turning pro in any sport, forget martial arts, for example, maybe football, because it's not quite as tough on the body. But if they start adding this stuff in now and they start getting that mindset, I know you're going to tell me, of course, right? I'm not answering my own question here, but it's like, that's got to be the way of the future in terms of sports teams, like your big football teams. They've got to surely be taking this stuff on, don't they?
Yeah, so I mean, I can mention this. You know, we sold a high-intensity PEMF device to Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, we can prove that, but we shouldn't talk about it. And he said, you know, we're not allowed to use that as promotion because he's in a mindset where he you know, it was actually when he'd just come back and done his second stint at United. And he wanted to be fitter and healthier than everybody else, you know, and at the time he was 37, he's like, what is he now, 70 now or something?
Yeah, about 72 I think.
So, you know, he was using one of our high intensity devices to perform as best he can. We sold a device to Man City. They have got one of our high intensity devices as well. So, and we've got pictures of them on our website.
You're selling them to the wrong fucking club, but we'll come on to that in a minute.
So they are starting to adapt to this side of thing. It took us, I mean, Man City, it took us 2 years or something stupid to get the money out of them. It was crazy, you know.
Right?
A club like that, you know, no, it wasn't 2 years. It was about 6 months, but.
You
know,
a club them all the same.
You know, a club with that much money, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And I think part of that process was because the club chairman are going, what is this, PEMF? What is this that you've spent 20 grand on? You know, because one of our high intensity devices, some of them are super expensive, and we got that one in from Germany. But so, you know, these top clubs and these places are starting to use it. They are starting to adapt into these. And in America, like I say, most sports clubs have PEMF therapy now. So
do they?
Whether they talk about it or don't talk about it, there's so many of them have got the devices now.
Well, it's interesting you bring it up. I've not seen the PEMF. Maybe they've got, maybe they haven't. But I've been around. Like when I'm in America, I'm big on. I love to go around the stadiums. I love the baseball and all that, and like not the sport, but like I love to see the NFL stadiums and that kind of shit. And when you go, especially NFL, I'm sure you've been to some NFL stadiums, right?
I haven't actually.
You haven't?
No,
mate, go. If you got the chance, get a tour on an NFL stadium. I went to Denver Broncos, so shout out to Broncos. But they, when you go around there, the stuff they've got, it's like another level. It's like a scale off the fucking chart. Like you go in there, and firstly, Denver's at altitude too, so they've got awesome shit to deal with that too. And they're explaining. I don't know if you know much about the altitude side of things, but like they say, like where the teams fly in, they try and fly in as close to the game as possible and fly out. Because they don't have time to adapt to the thing. Whereas if they get there, like for example, and if I'm butchering this, someone help me out. But if their game is on a Saturday and they turn up on the Tuesday, they're fucked because their body starts to adapt to the altitude, but it's not ready yet. So it can bum you down. So they talk about flying in, flying out. They've got all these things, and they're big on showing you this, that, and the other, and whatever. And it's like looking into the future without it being sort of mainstream yet. But I'm assuming our age, you're a bit older than me, but in our lifetimes, our generation, we're going to see the benefits of that, aren't we? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's what we're trying to do is trying to raise it. So, we mentioned this off this podcast that we've got our own podcast called the PEMF Podcast or the PEMF Podcast.
The second best podcast I've seen, by the way, guys.
And our mission on that is not to plug our product that we've just brought out. It genuinely isn't. It's to raise awareness of PEMF therapy, and because at the end of the day, if we can raise awareness of PEMF therapy and get people to understand it and start using it, then ultimately they're going to buy our device, they'll buy every other device. But it's about education. It's just trying to educate people, and over time, like I say, the Americans are really taking up on PEMF therapy now, and they're really starting to understand it and see the benefits, and it's just kind of spreading like wildfire. So whether the UK will follow suit anytime soon, probably under the NHS, no. Yeah. But I've always wanted them to go private.
But I think when things start to go in America, that's typically how it goes, right? Once you open the floodgates, especially them big sports teams. Like again, touching on it, when you go to these stadiums out there, it feels like a different level. Like if you go to a stadium tour of a Premier League team over here versus going to an NFL team out there, it's a bigger deal. Like this is like you feel like you're in something massive, whereas here you just like, oh, over there the away fans sit, here's the change rooms, thanks for coming, you know what I mean? Whereas over there it's like a 2-hour ordeal, and they tell you everything about Billy Fuckstick who hit the ball in 1922, you know what I mean? And that all ties in because they're very proud to tell you what they've got, and like they almost, I think the next level of that is it just filters down, right? And before we know it, you'll come in. I think it seems like where your mindset is too. It's going to be like you'll just go in any gym and it'll be like, before I train, I'll just jump on a PEMF mat. Give me a sec because how many have they got? Oh, they've only got 5. Oh, fuck it, I'll just jump on that one. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Which would be great to see because in my lifetime, like I'm a dinosaur, but like in my time of going to gyms, even simple things like saunas have become a bigger deal. Do you know what I mean? Like most gyms didn't have saunas when I was a member of a gym. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now, if you go to a gym that ain't got a sauna, unless it's a 24-hour gym, it's like fucking hell, like fuck this gym. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And if we can get that, let's get that pumping, bro. For fuck's sake, because where I'm sorry, keep going on a tangent about when I've been driving over the country for these podcasts and stuff, I stop in gyms, and a lot of these gyms do have not stuff like what you've got yet, but they do seem to be having that kind of like Theragun type vibe. Yeah. There's this stuff. There's like a massage. I know we said it earlier, like the massage chair, but there's a step in the right direction, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And I think if you Seller 8 starts becoming on the front of football shirts and things, I mean, we're off to the races, son.
No, that's it. And the thing is, the biggest problem holding us back a lot of the time is that PEMF therapy isn't Instagrammable. And what I say that is, if you're using a PEMF mat on its own, especially lower intensity ones, it's just someone laying on a mat in their clothes. Right. It's not sexy. It's what's happening.
Well, check out the Instagram page where I posted on the red light. You'll see me in my pants face down on the red light.
One of the reasons why we introduced the red light, because I genuinely think, when you put PEMF and red light together, 90% of the benefits, in my opinion, are coming from the PEMF. 10% are coming from the red light.
Right. Okay.
But
interesting.
The red light is sexy. And you get to strip down to your underwear, or even
more if you like.
Yeah, and it's Instagrammable.
Yeah, I got you.
And we've seen, since we've introduced the red lights to, we've seen no more celebrities like posting on our stuff and all these sorts of things because it's cool now.
Because it looks cool. It looks trendy.
Cool now. So you're not stripping down and jumping in a cold bit of water. You're not in a sauna. You're not doing all these different things, when you're laying on a PEMF mat. So one of the ways we're trying to do it is make it sexier so people can
Yeah, cool. Because the PEMF mat, like you say, it just looks like someone laying on their back, right? But and I guess that's probably part of the problem for you to break into people seeing it, because Joe Average will look at it and go, oh, he's just laying there, what's that? Do you know what I mean? Whereas like, if you're listening to you talk now, you go, fuck me, if I ain't got one of them, I'm going to die tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? But do you see where I'm coming from? Like the selling it side of things. But if Cristiano Ronaldo's on board, mate, I think, you know.
Well, we did a video with Luke Campbell, and can share that after.
Yeah,
but,
great. Yeah. Put a link in it or something. Yeah.
So it was really cool to get Luke Campbell to agree to do all this for us and do a video. But in the video, he does a bit of bit on the bag work, and then he undoes his mat and he sits on his mat and he gets off and he's like, right, I'm ready to go again. And everyone's looking at thinking, what the fuck just happened?
I think he just had a nap.
He just sat down for a minute, so it's like, again, it's not sexy if you want it to be. Luke Campbell, he's sexy as fine.
I was going to say, you kind of shit on Luke Campbell there. But he's finished boxing completely, right? He's not coming back.
As far as I'm aware.
Well, can't we get him like pimped up and like back in the ring so he can like wear it on his shorts for you or something like that? Because how old is he? Do you know how old he is? I touched on it earlier. He's fairly young. He's still in his 30s, definitely.
Yeah, I knew this because we had to, do some work with him. But he's younger than me. I don't think he's not 37.
I think he's just a little bit older than me. I think he's probably between us in age, sort of thing. Because I am in fact younger than you. But but he was. I met him once years and years ago. He won a gold medal at the same Olympics as Joshua, didn't he? And he was in. I was working in a gym called Gym Box at the time, and he was in there for something. But he fought, I believe, at 57 kilos, and he's actually taller than me. Not that I'm fucking tall, but do you know what I mean? Like that, he was big for the weight, and he's like, it's a shame he didn't win a world title, man, because I think he was good enough. Do you know what I mean? But do you work with any Do you work with any athletes that are sort of like under your brand? Or if you can't talk about it, tell me.
No, I mean Luke Campbell's one that we've got under. We've got like I say, we've got Eddie Hearn is gonna. He's not an athlete. He's not an athlete, but he's gonna start training, and he promises he's gonna start training. We want to get more sports guys using it. We've got a lot of biohackers. We tend to go down like the biohacker route at the moment. Like we only launched Accelerate brand just over a year ago, so we're kind of like getting out there. We've had Ollie Ollerton, the SAS guy. We've had a Love Island star and a few, So we've had a few. We had a Pussycat doll on one of our.
Oh yeah, which one?
What's her name?
She's that famous, eh? Yeah.
I've got his name popping around in my head now. No, she is one of the most famous. Not Scherzwinger. Not
Scherzer. The other one.
No, the other one.
Blonde, brunette. What's she look like?
Blonde one.
Blonde one.
She was quite big in the UK.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't place her name either. But Pussycat dolls were popping when I was about 12. So.
Yeah. We've had a lot of kind of celebs going using the mat and getting kind of posting about it a lot more now. So, but we want to get more of that 1% club. The guys that are training. Frotch has started calling out YouTuber now, isn't he?
Jake Paul.
Yeah. So if that happens, I'll be straight in Frotch's DMs. Like, take some of this. Like, get on the PEMF. With everything we can to put everything him on his arse. We can. Because, the UK's behind you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming Jake Paul's probably low key got himself a PEMF somewhere along the line.
He's got a PEMF mat.
Has he?
Yeah. He has got a PEMF mat, and he's got one of the ones that we sell, a blue one.
Does he? Yeah.
He actually posted a video using it. So Jake Paul has got high intensity PEMF. So he's already got the upper hand.
Fucking hell, Jake. That's the only reason he wins. Fucking hell, mate. But are you a fight fan yourself? You said you have some white collar stuff.
I mean, I'm into the boxing. I'm not so much into. I watch MMA, but I couldn't tell you a lot.
Well, the reason, again, twofold. Firstly, I was going to speak to you about UFC and stuff, but the other one you said about wanting to fight and the missus won't have it. Jiu-jitsu might be your window because you ain't got to get punched around the head. You could just, like a subtle little choke. And maybe we'll work on it. Maybe we'll get into some jiu-jitsu.
One of my best mates does Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
I mean, if you could say it, it'd be great. You know what I mean? Yeah, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Where does he do it? Do you know where he does it?
No, it's local to around here,
okay,
but I'm not sure.
Where are we here? We're in Gillingham.
We're in Gillingham, Kent.
Shout out to the Gillingham, Kent Massive. But a friend of mine moved down here, actually, so you know you are mentioning your name for obvious reasons that you know why. But so you're thinking about another boxing match if the missus will let you go, but you're a fight fan anyway. So tell us, mate. Tell us your fight fan stuff. Obviously, you've got the hookup now with Matchroom and whatnot, but... Yeah. You mentioned Jake Paul. Before we get into any sort of real boxing, we'll talk about Jake Paul. Did you watch the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight?
I did, and I mean, it was all about the fight before that, wasn't it? Let's just put it. It was much more on the on the girls that fought before that, but that was a letdown. I mean, it was always going to happen because of his age. Surely, I don't think anyone was expecting the spectacle.
I mean, listen.
Some people thought there was going to be something.
I thought he might crack him early. But I tell you what impressed me that no one's speaking about with Mike Tyson at 58 years of age. Firstly, he's the same age as my dad, right? Secondly, like he got caught with some shots, and like that's the thing you see with the older fighters. As soon as they get touched on the chin, everything falls to pieces and they go away. He seems like he can still take a shot, man. When he got blasted, he seemed like he shook it off and whatever. And listen, I'm Mike Tyson till the end. He's my favourite. He was my idol growing up. Do you know what I mean? So you're never going to hear a bad word about Mike out of mine. Jake Paul, different matter. But who do you watch now? Like, because there's obviously a little bit of a delay from filming it to putting these out, so some fights might happen. But who's sort of your guys that you watch right now? And you can't say Carl Froch.
I mean, Fury, obviously. You know, I quite respect Fury. I think he's top of his game, isn't he? And I like him. I like everything, you know, and I will be watching the Usyk Fury. You know, I think that's built up to be a decent.
Did you watch the first one?
A decent fight. Yeah.
What do you think of the first one?
Controversial.
Oh, you do? You think Fury won?
I wouldn't say. It was tight. It was close. It was close.
I think it was close.
I wouldn't want to call it. I actually think it should have been one of them fights that was a draw.
Really?
And everyone, you know, everyone's up in arms when they have draws and stuff, don't they? But for me, it was really hard to
I mean, it was I'm saying the obvious here, but the ninth round when he got chinned and wobbled and all over the place, that obviously didn't help him. But I personally think Fury's a little bit on the slide. I think a prime Fury, the one that fought Wilder, especially the last two times, I think he'd have beat Usyk quite comfortable. I think it'd have stopped him. But now I look at him and I go, I think that lifestyle's caught up with him a bit. But good luck to him. I mean, have you seen the money they're getting for this next fight? Exactly. They're talking about a split of $190 million, aren't they? So, you know, they're all right.
It's kind of not as important anymore, is it? And this is the thing, fighting is turning into this money game now, isn't it?
But to me, I'll tell you why, I like that, because they work harder than anybody. Do you know what I mean? If anyone deserves it, it's someone who's gone through that kind of life. Like how hard that is, you know. And anyway, I'm sure people will go, oh, what about, shut the fuck up, listen, that's a hard life. Do you know what I mean? That kind of pressure, that everything. And even like relating into footballers, and I'm ranting a bit, guys, but it's like, when footballers earn that kind of money, I don't have a problem with it, because they earn that money. Do you know what I mean? If they don't get the money, where's the money go to?
And I get that, and I want more money to go into all the fighting and all that sort of thing, but I think it's the wrong people that are getting the big bills. You know, Jake Paul's. You know,
Eddie Hearn. What?
You know, it's like I say, the two girls that fought before.
Now the argument to that, not my opinion. I'm not being a sexist pig. Comment on someone else's page, but the argument to that, and a good friend of mine, I won't mention his name for what I'm about to say, but his thing. I said to him, "Did you watch the Taylor Serrano fight?" No, I don't watch Sunday League football, mate. All right, cool, I get you. But you got to be honest. There's levels different. The difference between the top level of women's fighting and the top level of men's fighting. There's no
it's
comparison.
The same in football, isn't it?
Exactly.
You can't compare it again. It's
but you can't compare it. You've got to be honest, right? Because it's unfair on the men to say otherwise. Now, not that the entertainment. This is where I differ on it. The entertainment level, especially of MMA, the female is just as high as the men to me, because they're good now. But I'm not watching women's football. Do you know what I mean? Because then I think the difference becomes obvious. Do you see what I mean? Whereas if me and you fight in a car park and we've never had a fight before and we just have a tear up, it's exciting to watch anyway.
This is one of them podcasts where we do it.
I was going to say, I've kind of lured you into the garage, but no, do you know what I'm saying? Like if we've never fought before and we just have a tear up, as long as our levels are similar, it's still exciting to watch. Everyone's going to turn around and go, fuck it. Do you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter as much to me. But I forget what my rant was about then. I was being a bit sexist there, wasn't I?
You went down the female
we did,
rabbit hole.
You got me there. You fucking with your PEMF shit. You hypnotised me. But no, bringing it back to the boxing. Like, we was talking about Taylor Serrano, weren't we? And the fighting stuff. The other fight that's coming up now is obviously the second fight of Usyk Fury. Tell me, who's winning that fight? What do you think?
I want Fury to win it. I think Usyk will probably win it.
You do? How?
Yeah. He's just a bit of a smarter boxer at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, and he's just... Fury's very awkward. He's always been awkward. And I think Usyk's the only one that's kind of really starting to untie that. And I think he's going to come in on the inside and win that.
Do you think he'll stop him?
I think it'll be another points.
You do, yeah.
Yeah. As I say, I'd love to say Fury will win it.
Yeah.
I'd rather Fury won it.
Yeah.
But
do you know what, right? This was one of them fights that I really wouldn't be surprised however it went. If it was an early knockout, late knockout, one way or the other, points win one way or the other, wide, close. Yeah. This one wouldn't surprise me. Do you know what I mean? I could really see this going any way. But the other one, just to bring it back briefly, is like recently we had Joshua versus Daniel Dubois. Did you watch that one?
Yeah.
Because we mentioned AJ, we've got to bring that one up now. Tell me about that one from your point of view as like a boxing connoisseur now, because you're a white collar boxer, you know everything.
Well, I saw Dubois coming up through the ranks, and I was well in his corner. Like when he was coming through, not amateur, he was already pro, but you know he was knocking people out for fun. And I was always saying, you know, put him up against AJ. You know, he's gonna flatten him. It's like, you know. And then he had that fight. Is it Parker? Who was it that he lost?
Joe Joyce.
Joe Joyce.
Club mate of mine. I'll shout that one out all day. Joe. Shout out Big Joe.
Joe Joyce. So, you know, he had that step up.
Yeah.
And suddenly he looked average, really average.
Well, it's interesting you say that. When that fight was happening, like I say know him. I knew him personally, Joe Joyce. We was in the same amateur club and whatever. We used to be around all the time. And he's like, people were saying about that, and like, oh, Dubois going to knock him out. And I was like, fucking, you're fucking mental. Joe's going to box his head off and beat him easy.
Yeah.
But you know when everyone keeps saying it, you start to second guess yourself and go, maybe I'm missing something. Yeah. But it went the way I thought it would, right? But I think since that, he's obviously fought Usyk as well, right? And I'll tell you my opinion on that because I've said that on him before. I think that was a legit body shot. I think he should have got the win over Usyk. Yeah. However, he still had a bit of a mental, I don't want to say a breakdown or mentally weak or quit or any of that stuff, but there was an issue there. There was definitely an issue with him, I think, before. But since that, he's turned the corner, definitely. You're watching that AJ fight. Good luck, man. Yeah. He's a fucking hard night for anyone now.
But that's the thing, you know, and that knocked my confidence in him. You know, see him, because he wasn't just beaten in that first loss, you know, he was made to look a bit silly, and it was kind of like, you know, I was well in his corner. I was telling everyone, you know, this is going to be a fucking walkover. And he was made to look silly. Yeah. And you know, not my confidence in him, and I was again, you know, not many people like AJ, but I think he makes that persona, you know, on purpose. He's the villain now, isn't he? Like, and obviously everyone wanted to see Dubois beating him, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I keep thinking back to that fight, and he had that step up, and he wasn't comfortable, and I thought, you know, I think AJ is going to come in there with his A game and do the business, but you know, the result was one that I think everyone wanted, and it was good.
Well, it shakes things up. I mean, I tell you what would be a massive shame now is like AJ. I think he's probably a little bit on the slide, but you know, it's easy to say from a performance like that, innit? But if he goes through his whole career and doesn't fight Fury or Wilder, that's crazy, isn't it? You know, I mean, I wouldn't like to see Wilder fight now anyway, because I think Wilder's way gone. You know, I think in his prime was one of the most dangerous heavyweights.
What happened to Wilder's legs? Where did they go? Do you have an answer? Because that fight, it didn't make any sense.
No.
Did it? He turned up with his legs that didn't look like his legs.
No, it's very strange. I think, when I said Fury, I think slightly on the slide. I think them fights they had against each other, him and Fury, I think that takes something out you can't get back. Like them two, I've said this before, that when you go to that level, there's very few people that will go out in the shield like them two. You know what I mean? Like them two was classic examples. You had to shut the lights out to stop them. Both of them was going to get up every fucking time until they couldn't anymore. Fury showed it massively in the first fight, and Wilder showed it over and over again in the last fight, but he still had his light shut out eventually. And I think that catches you, man. And I think once you've hit a certain point, there's that part of it too, and it's easy for me to say from the outside watching it, but you see him on videos now, Wilder, doing like tricky combinations with his coach and slipping, sliding, looking like a boxer. And it's like, that ain't for you, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you were a one-hitter quitter. Don't worry about this boxing shit. You're going to get yourself in trouble, is my view. And I'm sure there's people going, yeah, but he's got... Shut the fuck up. My podcast. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I think he's doing too much... I know it sounds a bit crazy, but learning to box. Learn to land that right hand. Or, sorry, not learn. You know how to land that right hand, but work on landing that right hand, because when it hits, it fucking hits. I mean, I don't know if you saw him fight Luis Ortiz. Do you remember the Cuban who they didn't know how old he was? He could have been 75. Do you know what I'm talking about? He was like a high-level Cuban boxer. They fought twice. Anyway, first fight first fight they boxed and they both went over, and Wilder eventually stopped him. The second fight, the Cuban was boxing him up. Yeah. And people were going, but like watching that, and this is not me being clever, a lot of people saw it too, like Wilder was just waiting and waiting and waiting, and he landed the right hand, and it caught him like on the forehead and still put him into another fucking world. It was like bizarre power. And I think he kind of got away from that. I think he had punched that even bit with Fury. And then I think like now he's trying to be a bit tricky. And it's gone. Do you know what I mean? At a certain point, it's gone. He's late 30s as well. Yeah. And I don't know if he's got a PEMF, Matt, maybe you do. But he's, do you know what I mean? I think it's just target, I think it's just over for sometimes for some people. And listen, he got into the sport. I don't know if you know his story, but he was driving a Budweiser truck because he had a disabled daughter. Yeah. And like he's got hundreds of millions by the sound of it. So he's all right. Do you know what I mean? He's not, you know, it's not a sad story, is it? Do you know what I mean? He's made it and he's done. I don't like to see fighters go on too long. That you know, Joe Joyce, another one. I say my friend. I use that club mate. I haven't seen him for years, but shout out Joe. I think he's gone on too long. Do you know what I mean? It's not a knock on him. I just think he got that point, again, late 30s, and it's not there anymore. And that's okay. You know what I mean? It's a bit harder on Joe than someone like Wilder, because Wilder's won world titles. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Joe didn't. But
it comes back to the Tyson fight. You know, we're talking about these fighters that are 36, 37, you know, pushing 40, and we're saying to them, they haven't got this anymore, they haven't got that anymore. Of course they're going to lose these fights. And then we're talking about a nearly 60-year-old, you know. It's special
kind though. Like when you see them videos of him training, I know they're only few second clips. I don't give a fuck, man. For a man that age to look like that and move like that, we're not all born the same, are we? Like some people are genetically better, and that's like a freak, isn't it? You know, like if you watch another one who he's trained as well. I don't know if you're aware much of the UFC stuff, but Francis Ngannou. You know who he is. Obviously, of course, he fought AJ, right? But that's a specimen and a half, man. Like if you see him in like anything, like not just his fights, because the fights are a bit, they're on TV, it's a bit flashy, innit? Do you know what I mean? But when you see like them gritty like training videos of him like fucking doing things, you go like, mate, that's
and did you hear about his story? You know, I listened to a podcast about his story. You know, you hear about how he came into the country and all sorts of things. It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah. And he recently lost his son as well, and he's like, it's a hard life, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? To come and literally, like, if you think of someone who's poor in this country, like, don't even compare to what poor is in his country, does it? Do you know what I mean? Like what he's come from, and like again, what the Saudis are paying him, I don't know, but it's a lot. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, but I'm all for it as well. I don't know if you've got much view on the Saudi money too, because that's another thing we said about money. People knocking the Saudi. Man, I'm into it. Like, I want to see these fights happen.
It's going to bring the big fights, and it's going to make them happen.
100%. Well, they're talking about Dubois calling out your boy Jake Paul, isn't he?
How is he? Yeah.
Why not?
Everyone is now.
I was going to say, where's your balls at, Jake? Let's see. But, you know, I can't see that one happening. Jake Paul ain't silly, is he? Do you know what I mean? He hasn't got to that level by being stupid. You know, you don't take that fight. But the thing I've mentioned on here to a few boxers and stuff, and some mixed reviews, actually, of what they think. But in terms of, like, if you see the Saudis, like Usyk, Fury, when they've won that fight, they lift up a belt that says undisputed on it. I'm all for that, man. Like, let's have one champion, all these belts, and, you know, you're a world champion, I'm a world champion, him and him's a world champion, and we're all the same way. I want one world champion, do you know what I mean? I'm big on that, and I want the Saudis to put that fat wallet on the table and say, look, I'm buying all these fucking belts, and let's see what happens.
Have it,
Because why not?
Yeah, I mean, they've got the money to make it happen.
And buy a PEMF mat for a while.
Yeah.
But if you was to sort of look at your, we'll talk about your missus getting you into the boxing ring soon anyway, but is that genuine? You want to do another one? You want to get out there?
I mean, I'd love to, it's just, I'm going to say it now, it's the time, you know, I need to put, like I say, you know, if you're not putting your time in the ring, the other guy is, so, it's whether I can get a bit of time in the work schedule to kind of like, you know, get that in there, because when I do something like that, you know, I want to throw myself in.
You just got to leave the kids and the wife for 6 weeks, mate. Go into camp and we'll figure it out. You know, I mean, we'll figure something out. But no, mate, I appreciate you doing this. This has been fantastic today. Anything you want to plug, we'll put anything in the description below, mate. But anything, tell us about your company, because you'll explain it better than I do before we finish up.
The only person I haven't mentioned, actually, I'll probably mention now, is Sam Noakes. I don't know if you know Sam Noakes, but he's a kind of up and coming boxer that we are working with as well. And you know, he's coming up through. I think he's under Eddie Hearn. Possibly, might be the other one. No, it's not. You should have done those there, mate. No, it's not. But anyway, mention Sam Noakes because you know he's and his brother's fighting as well.
Very good.
And he's going to be using our systems, and you know we'll be watching him. He's got an amazing KO record. So.
Perfect. Maybe we'll get in touch and I'll get him on here. And we'll
you should get him on.
And he can tell 100%. Me about the PEMF mat from another angle. But
if anyone wants to get in contact with us, obviously we've got the company Newmed, which is the UK one. We've got our product, which is Celerate. So we're more active on things like Instagram. So you just search Celerate _ at the end. Or myself, I'm Andy Smith _PEMF. So
perfect.
And nice. I can talk to you about PMF.
Brilliant. So I'll put all the links in the description below. Just before we finish up, a shout out to our sponsor, MIE, Mental Internal External. Before we do properly finish up, I always ask the most important question of the day. I don't know if you've seen any of these. Maybe you know what's coming, but what football team do you support?
Chelsea.
Oh my God, you can come again. Beautiful, brilliant.
I wasn't expecting you to say that.
Brilliant. Is that a genuine one, is it?
Yeah, he's a genuine.
Very good, there you go. I didn't prompt him at all. All right, mate, thank you very much. So I always finish with the fists up like this, mate. Squeeze the neck, boom!